guys, it's Howard again, and today I'll be bringing you my most disappointing reads of 2016. So in 2016, there were a couple of books that I was very underwhelmed with, so I'm going to share those with you today. The majority of the books on this list are books that I really did not enjoy, but there are two books on here that were good, but they didn't hit the mark for me. I guess I overhyped them for myself and then just ended up kind of letting me down. But there are two books that I want to kind of revisit later on, which I will mention. But yeah, by no means they are terrible books, but they are definitely ones that I want to give another chance to kind of see if I can change my opinions going into them with a different mindset. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with this list. The first book on my list of disappointing reads was Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris. This is the first book in the Sookie Stackhouse series. I think it's what it's called. It's the series that's based off of the True Blood TV series. And yeah, this book I didn't really enjoy. I read it toward the beginning of the year. I think it was either January or February. And yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't like the characters. I hated the insta-love. I don't know, maybe I'm just like slowly growing away from paranormal romancy type stuff. But this one I just did not enjoy at all. And I think I gave this one like a 2 stars. But yeah, it's terrible because I bought the box set for this series and now I have 10 of these books sitting on my shelf, which I do not know if I'm going to end up continuing with the series or not. So we will see what happens with this. The next book on my list is a graphic novel, and that is The Wicked and the Divine Volume 3. This book I just did not enjoy this installment in this series at all. I mean, this is already a confusing series as it is, and this one just got like way more confusing, and I didn't really know what was going on. And I think the main artist on this one kind of took a break, so they brought in guest artists for each one of the separate issues within this one, and it was just like the art style was just inconsistent, and just I didn't really enjoy kind of like all of these different changing art styles within this volume. It was just confusing. I did not like it. Yeah, and this is definitely a volume that I did not enjoy. I'm definitely going to continue on with the series, but this volume was a very big disappointment for me. And the next book on my list is one that I no longer own because I disliked this book so much that I didn't even want it on my shelves anymore. And that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I read this book this year at the beginning, and yeah, I just did not like it. I went into this book and figured out the ending within the first 10 minutes of me sitting down with this book, and it was just disappointing and confusing. The plot I felt was very muddled and very unorganized. I did not like the characters or this family or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't feeling this book. I had to get rid of it. I did not like it at all. And the next book on this list is one of the ones that I said that I overhyped for myself, and I definitely want to give another shot because I've heard amazing things about this one. It just didn't really hit the mark for me, and that was Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. This one was really confusing. The world building I think was a little off. I don't know if I was just distracted from the beginning or I started reading it at kind of an off time or something, but I just couldn't really get into the story. I read all the way through this one and just was never really engaged, was never really hooked. But I definitely want to give this one another shot because everybody keeps talking about how great it is and everything, but like I said, I went into this book kind of overhyping it for myself. And then with like the confusing like plot and development and the world building and everything, I was just never really able to get back into the story. So yeah, this is definitely one, like I said, that I want to reread eventually, hopefully in 2017. Yeah, because I liked the main characters. I really enjoyed the main characters, and I don't feel like it was nothing wrong with the book per se. It was just kind of me and my perspective on it at the time. So this is, like I said, one I want to revisit later on. The next book on my list is also one that I overhyped for myself so much. Like, I went into this book thinking that it was going to be the greatest book that I was ever going to read in my life. I don't know why I overhyped it or I built it up in my head that much, but then it ended up not being that book, so that's why it's on this list, not because it's necessarily bad, but that is The Weight of Feathers by Anne-Marie McLemore. I went into this book, like I said, not really knowing anything other than it being magical realism, and until I started reading this book, I realized that I don't think I've really read any magical realism, so I was really confused toward the beginning, kind of trying to, like, get a hold on this story and like the magical realism elements and everything. So yeah, it was just, in the end, it ended up being disappointing because, like I said, I was just confused and like just thrown off by some things that I just wasn't expecting. But this is definitely one that I want to reread and kind of go in with a new perspective, a new mindset. Now that I kind of know how the story is going, I can kind of just like sit down and enjoy the story for what it is, because I loved the characters and I loved kind of the star-crossed lovers kind of thing, the forbidden love that was in here. But yeah, like I said, it was just disappointing for me just because I had overhyped it so much, and that is why it made this list, not because it is a bad book. And the last book on this list is the entire reason why I was holding off on making this video, because I read this book in December, I ended up DNFing it 375 pages in, so I was right there. I was almost at the end, but I couldn't do it anymore, and that was The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer. Yes, this book. I had so many problems with this book. The first probably 7 or 8 chapters of this were golden, were amazing, and had established a great, amazing main character, and a great plot, and a great story, and I was just so engaged and so hooked by the first 7 or 8 chapters of this book. And then they introduced the romance, and I was so annoyed by this romance. I felt like it was so unnecessary. I felt like these two main characters were just like, there was something off about them. And this is definitely one that I want to try and finish later on. Like if I can get it on audiobook and finish listening to it, because I'm still kind of interested in knowing what happens. I'm just so annoyed by the two main characters and the romance between the two of them. And just the fact that they changed, I feel, so much when this romance was introduced that I just couldn't read it anymore. I was done. Like, I just put it down and I was done for the time. But I felt like I read enough for me to throw it on this list because I was almost done with the book anyways. But more thoughts in my December wrap up. But I had to throw this one in my disappointing reads list because, yeah, it was absolutely disappointing. I couldn't stand these two main characters after a while. So yeah, guys, that is it for my most disappointing reads of 2016. Comment down below and let me know what your most disappointing reads of 2016 were. If you guys have read any of the books that I have read and what your thoughts were on them and everything. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.